So, Bill Skarsgård is back.
Yes.
We have officially seen, even though we've seen glimpses here and there of Pennywise, he is officially back in his true full Pennywise form. So we're talking about episode 5 of Welcome to Derry, and pretty good episode, I
I
gotta
thought it
say.
was phenomenal.
Yeah,
It was good.
it I'm thankful for the ones that moved us to this point because
Yes.
again, things are clicking along and we got actually, even with as much action as happened in this, we still got some pretty good information. Like
Yes.
they laid the we're going to go through it because I took notes and they did lay the foundation of how the season is going to end. I may not pronounce the word right, but let's just go ahead and get into it. So basically, Halloran gets the information from Taniel, and he kind of goes into a seizure. But by then, the information's already been gotten about the shards and the barrier that they're trying to get. Shaw is tells Leroy that what they've been searching for, and that essentially he's like, "We're just going to try to shrink the cage," and Leroy's like, "Sounds like to me you're gonna try to capture it." And so the
Foolish.
plan is to send everybody to the Neibolt house where the well is that they're all gonna drop into and find these pillars. And we also find out that Marge then kind of it lets Lily off the hook for it. That's the reason she's kind of part of the group.
Yes.
And lo and behold, while after Lily has visited Marge, they all go back to the hideout to talk about it, and Maddie is there. Maddie is there
Maddie. Yes.
because Maddie does not look good. Maddie is very gray and very gross, and you feel like you should already kind of be suspicious about what Maddie is, right? But not that I'm aware. I don't know if we've ever seen Pennywise take the form. Maybe he. Oh, I guess he did Georgie, but I guess a sustained form of a child
It
for this
was yeah,
long.
that was a good stretch.
Yeah, to lead them to where we're going. And Maddie tells him that he was in the sewers and that Pennywise is keeping kids alive, and Will deduces for fear, kind of a feeding on them. Says he got away, and I'm like, okay, guy.
Yeah, he sleeps
Um,
during the day, so
he
that's when I
sleeps during the day,
escaped.
which is
Yeah.
I'm like, but
Pretty sure Marjorie was trying to cut her eyes out during the daytime during school hours, but whatever.
pretty sure Lily was attacked at the supermarket during day
Yes.
hours.
Yes.
So I'm like, already, my brother in Christ, you're not this. None of this is tracking.
Yep.
But he says Phil is alive and gets super agitated at any mention of going to the police. Like, absolutely no, which is crazy. He's like, they're gonna send me home, and I'd rather. He says the craziest thing: I'd rather be in the sewers than back at home.
Yeah, that at that point, that should have been, I mean, obviously they're kids and they're
Right.
working with kids' minds, but I'm like, I'm not trying to discount how bad your home life was, but there's no way. There is no
You,
way.
especially when you flat out admit that you saw kids' brains getting eaten.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you had a black eye from your.
Yeah.
Please let me say we are not talking about the real world. These are characters. I know that
Exactly.
let's not get tripped up in this, but Homeboy was talking about a black eye versus watching brains being eaten out of a kid.
Yes.
So and I we'll get to it later, but I kind of believe it's his. Um
His.
it was Maddie's brains being eaten out of a kid
Oh.
because of we'll get to that later. So then like we
Oh,
also see
yeah.
this indigenous group talking about that ironically that the Galoo seems a lot milder than what it was in 35 and '08. And again, I was like, milder? You mean these seasons that are gonna even just get even worse? Like,
Right.
what?
Yeah.
And that and we got information about that the creature sheds its
Yeah. In the water
skin into the
supply.
water system, which is really
Yeah.
gross. But that's how we learn that's how people are more aggressive in
Yeah.
the city, which is kind of good to know. Like, I mean, having watched having watched it and read it, and again, this might be covered in the book. I have to go back and reread the book, but it was good to know that, I mean, like, it's never been a secret that the townsfolk of Derry always act super weird.
Yeah.
Like that's not anything that's strange, but to know that it's part of its being shed off into the water supply, which is doing this, and that it builds towards a crescendo called an, I'm going to get this word, argury, Argury, I believe,
Yeah.
which is basically Pennywise's period cycle because it culminates in a huge bloody mess
A
that
purge.
that ends its cycle for 27 years. It goes dormant for 27 years. And then so we've got the word, we know, so they're giving you hints already that this is what we're building towards, possibly through the vehicle of Hank being escaped through Shawshank. But we'll get to that. Well, actually, we're at the right now. Hank is being turned over to Shawshank. Charlotte is there witnessing it. A angry father breaks free, tries to shoot Hank, and Charlotte sees a creepy cop in the doorway with the it smile, smacking its billy club. And yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. So basically, find out that Leroy tells Charlotte kind of what's been going on because he gets them out of that house. Because earlier, like Leroy's like, you let me move my family here instead of the base. And I think Shaw was like, I think I told you to move him to the base, but you just
Yeah. The general hasn't been great, but in that one situation, it's like, I did tell you to bring them here, but again, to be fair, you didn't tell him why. Like you've justified it in your mind, but yeah, I'm sure if you had been a little bit more forward with him, but then
a
that would
couple
have blown the
details
whole
out.
operation. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, but he's like telling Shirley, he's like, listen, I'm going to tell you something that's going to just blow your mind, but I need you to believe me. I, so they show them like that they are on the base and that like Charlotte's really protective of like, where Will's going, not a good amount still because Will and his friends end up in the sewer.
Yeah.
But so Rose confronts Shaw when she finds out that her nephew Daniel has been captured and that he gave up the information and ultimately what he's trying to do. And she just kind of looks at him and says, you think, I think her direct quote was, you think you can put a leash on this and control
Yes.
it? She basically just calls him a fool, just flat out calls him a fool,
I
but
mean,
is like,
she's right.
listen,
Like, come on, man.
100% right. But at least she's like, listen, if you're going to do this, you've got to let me send Daniel down there with a way to help you out because this thing is just going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like you guys are going down there thinking that guns are going to work against this thing. And
We've got the full strength of the US military. We'll be fine. Y'all would have been, I mean, they barely made it out, but without the help that they did have, they would have been just annihilated like 30 seconds in.
right, a few of them. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like Rose does give Daniel a shard to take with him. Lily goes to what we find, I guess, I think you had said earlier on that we suspected the Madeline Stowe's character to be Mrs. Kirsch. She was in fact, you do in fact find out she is Mrs. Kirsch, married to Mr. Kirsch. And you also find out that when the Shawshank bus gets into an accident, crashes, and Hank escapes, and he all of a sudden finds himself in the back seat of Mrs. Kirsch's car, that she is in fact the white married lady that he's been fooling around with.
That's the part that annoys me because I called it, but I didn't call it. They kept giving her screen time,
Yes.
and then we found out about he was with a white woman that was unnamed. And my immediate thought was, it's probably a character we've been introduced to. And I was like running through it in my head, and she was the one I thought of. I immediately said, Will, don't do that because new rock stars and everyone has talked about how she might be uh and like protect that and somehow like the turtle in a sense. Like she's going
Okay,
to
yes.
people were
Mhm.
giving her depth. And
Right.
I didn't want to come in and be like, I think she's the affair partner.
Well,
So
you have
I
learned a
didn't
lesson
say
because you need
anything.
to speak up next time,
Yeah.
and you would have been. You
It
would have
wasn't
been,
even when he was in the backseat of the car. It was when I think Lily was at her house and her alcoholic husband walked in and
yes.
was like, "Where's my steak?" As soon as he turned the corner, I said, "Okay, she's the one that's having the affair." I was right because they were adding depth to her character. They're making her husband a terrible guy and essentially justifying her stepping out. And I just sat there and was like, I should have said it. I should have put it on record.
I, now you have learned your lesson. Don't ever
Yes.
keep, no matter how ridiculous of a theory you think it is, just speak up and say it. I'm the theories are already out there that it was the Galoo slash it slash Pennywise that in fact did crash the Shawshank bus. That it is because it is you that it was what I was referring to earlier is this is building towards the augury of
Yes.
again, I don't know if I'm saying that word right, but that building towards that bloody crescendo, and Hank being the vehicle for that because you do see in the trailers, I believe at the end of this episode, they're like, well, we know where, because you get the white racist cops who think they know where Hank is being stashed. And it looks like they're going to go to the woods and attack Dick Halloran's place, which that's going to be the big bloody affair that happens in 62.
Yeah.
This is 62, 62, 67, 62. 62. I think that's how the math
60.
works out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it is 62.
Yeah. So, okay. So back to it. The troops go into the Neibolt house, which such a bad idea. This is just such a bad idea. And they're told early on, if you see something that doesn't look like it belongs down there, shoot it and kill it. Which of course leads to
The kid, there's an immediate cut. I was like, oh no.
the kids bring Margin to the group, decide to get drugged up, which was kind of their druggy experience was kind of funny, especially
That was funny. I
with
mean, we're
Richie
not
holding her
promoting kids
hand.
on drugs, but that was funny.
And so naturally you see if you see something down here that doesn't belong, shoot it. So naturally you see the kids go down there. Dick Halloran gets lost in the water, emerges from the water in his old bathroom with his grandma and a Pennywise grandpa. And his grandpa is trying to force him to open the box, which is a box that Halloran keeps locked in his mind. Because once this box is opened, which it does at the end of this episode, he is never the same, which leads you to The Shining. This is him seeing dead people, which we'll get into in a
Yep.
few seconds what happens later. Leroy sees Charlotte down in the sewers, but Paulie's like, I don't. So Leroy's like, clip. Like he's been wanting to do that his whole life.
Yeah.
He did that a little too fast.
Yeah, that was
But
yeah.
granted, the creature did change and turn into a monster when it charged at him. The kids start seeing the dead kids float up from the water. Maddie starts singing this really weird song. His head opens up and he turns into what I think is a pretty excellent scene of a changing into Pennywise.
Yes.
Now that is also why I think Maddie was the one that had his brains eaten because of the
Because
way
it
his
opened up in the
yeah
back of the head.
yeah
That's
with the
fair.
teeth right and it opened up and it thought it was great. Bill Skarsgård is so good in this role. I mean, just you he is Pennywise at this point. I mean, like
Yeah.
he just does a great job. His voice, just everything. Kids obviously, like they should, run away screaming, but Lily, of course, trips and falls behind.
You gotta have one kid trip and fall on a horror movie show. It's gotta happen.
Right, exactly. And it happened to be the girl with the turtle bracelet. However, that's not the thing that saves her. But we'll get to that. Leroy hears the kid, sees his son, and goes to shoot. And Paulie's like, time out. I see the kids too. By then, Leroy's at this point just got a nice little itchy trigger
He's
finger.
locked in. He's ready to go.
He's like, I don't care if Paulie sees him or not. I shot my wife. I'm gonna shoot my kid.
Yeah. Just
Um,
yeah.
yeah, shoots. Paulie does what a good soldier partner does and jumps in front of the bullet, gets hit. Leroy tells the kids, you can get that out of here and just go. Meanwhile, we see that Pennywise tries to charge upon Lily, and it gets as far as the drop shard that Taniel dropped in the water, and he abandoned because he couldn't find it, even though it was glowing. But I think at that point, I think water was rushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that protects her. We've already said that. Then we also see that Mrs. Kirsch and Hank are the lovers that we were talking about, and she goes to Charlotte, which I'm kind of interested in seeing how that,
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting scene conversation.
yeah, how that plays out. Um, Dick Halloran makes it out, sees Polly, and at that point, you kind of know that the box, because you do see that his slash grandpa Pennywise smashes open that lock and opens the box, and that is in fact, his shine. So that he is now he's not going to be the same from here on out. He is now changed into what we know from The Shining kind of guy. Sees dead Polly, but yeah. So
I
what'd you
thought
think?
I thought it was a really good episode. The situation with Taniel, they did a good job kind of alluding to the soldier not being fond of him, even at the base when he's being interrogated and everything. But it was weird that the first instinct for the guy leading the pack was to start shooting when Taniel runs away. Like,
Right,
and I realized they needed that to be the reason that the shard falls out and he doesn't have time to get it. But that was odd. Like, obviously, he doesn't want to be there, but he is. He's helping.
right,
He gets spooked or whatever, or just like, I'm not doing this, and he
right,
runs. And his immediate response is, I'm gonna just empty the clip and start shooting at him. And I'm like, is that what we're doing? Is that the best course of action? Like, because let's say you hit him. Well, now he can't help you now.
right,
But I realized like they needed him to be running and he needed the thing to fall out of his
right,
satchel and he needed a reason for him to not stay and look for it. But
right.
if I was going to criticize one thing, I would be like the fact that when he turned to run, the guy just started shooting at him.
No, I mean I didn't even think about that, but that's a completely valid criticism. I mean, again, like you're like, I know you're saying like that does not crap on the episode, but you're just kind of like, it's one of those things that it might momentarily take you out of it for a
Yeah.
second because you're like, well, what exactly are we doing here? Like
Yeah. Like
you're
what
gonna
it's like your
shoot,
dog chasing his tail. Like, what's the plan once you catch it? Like, okay,
right,
let's say you hit him with a bullet and he drops to the ground. Like, okay, now what?
right, because it's like, and there ends any help you're getting from the indigenous group.
Exactly. So yeah, like again, very minor critique, but in the moment of the episode, as soon as he started shooting, I was like, why are you shooting at him? Like, I get that he's running away, but I'm pretty sure half your soldiers have done that too.
Right,
You just don't like this guy, so now you're shooting at him. But like, let's think this through. You hit him, he dies, or he's hurt. You have no help from them now. But
right.
anyway, that was my only critique, but I
I wonder
thought
if
that
any other soldiers saw anything down there. Because we
that's
only
what,
really see the kids and Leroy's perspective
yeah.
of what they see. But if any other soldiers saw anything,
And I wondered, well, no, the Uncle Sam guy, the Uncle Sam skeleton that came
okay,
out, the I want you. So they did see that. I think it got them.
yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Um, but I thought the sewer scene was great. I thought it's always iffy when you have a show that's about a certain thing or character and you make the decision to not introduce said character or thing for a long time. I know Game of Thrones famously did it with the dragons.
Sure,
It you saw versions of it, but you didn't get it until
right,
episode 5. I know before they did the reshoots with Daredevil for this Born Again, they originally had not planned to have Daredevil show up until like halfway through the season,
right.
and then they scrapped it because I guess once that got leaked, everybody hated it. But then you see a show like this, and it's like, no, that was expertly done. That
It
was
really
great.
was. And we do benefit a lot from the fact that Pennywise takes on so many various forms. You're not
Yes,
left with
true, true.
just like one Godzilla looking kind of creature, like
Yeah,
I mean, that's the reasons like you have to kind of delay with Godzilla is just like you don't want to give away too fast, the size and scope of him. But
right.
in this but you still want them to hint at the destruction and his size and capacity for destruction, which is like you were able to get with this with Pennywise because of him attacking the kids in such gruesome ways
Yeah.
up till then, with the pickle daddy and
Ugh.
um the slug eyeballs and the womb and the
Ugh.
skin lamp.
They started off the episode with the eyes, and I was like, here we go. But then it was just cleaning it up, and I also was like, that is not as bad as it looked in the last episode. Like, I thought your eyeball was going to be gone, but
Yeah,
when the episode started and I saw the eyeball, I was like, here we go.
yep. It's like, all right, we're just jumping right in, are we? Yeah. So I agree. It was a super good episode. I think it's one of definitely the top ones for me to watch. This, like I said,
I
again,
think
the
so.
transformation of Maddie into Pennywise was just him
Hmm.
spinning around that pole like
Yeah.
a dancer.
Everyone's screaming because they're seeing the dead bodies, and you just see him kind of just like walking and looking all nonchalant. And then you see like a split second with the head, and it like that 10-second transition or whatever, that right there was outstanding.
So good. So yeah, just the head opening up and you're like, and just again, I think like even though this one had a lot of action going on, I think we still got some good pieces of lore
Oh yeah.
in there. Just like I said, with the indigenous group kind of like always there to fill in the blanks. And I have to say I'm a little suspicious of Shaw's story about that he was given a drug and he remembered everything.
That was interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if he was trying to shield Dick Halloran's part in reading the mind of excuse me of Taniel because he really never does he ever I can't remember. I don't remember if he ever tells Rose exactly how they got the information because he was like, we've got the information, but he doesn't ever say like,
He
and we have a
doesn't.
guy.
Taniel does. He says they were in my mind. He doesn't specifically say who, but the general never does.
But this was after her conversation with Shaw, I believe, yes. Because by
Yes,
then she's bringing him yes.
correct.
So I kind of wonder if he really didn't, because like she said, she goes, if you really truly remembered, you would remember the horror that you felt
Yes.
in that forest. And so kind of the fact that he doesn't, or at least isn't alluding to remembering, because she's saying if you remembered, you wouldn't be doing this at all. Like this is insane. Like, and so I am a little suspicious of if he was just kind of easing the blow of, I don't want to say we tortured your nephew here.
Right. Right. Right.
I'll say
Right.
I took some truth serum and found out that way. So
Is there just, and I guess Taniel snuck on to the base because they let him.
yes, they opened up
And
the
that's why
fences.
they're just justifying having him being
Yes, held.
interrogated because
Yes,
he technically broke the law. Well, not technically, he
correct.
did break the law, but they wanted him
Yes,
to.
right.
Um,
To
okay.
snag one of them in order
Yeah.
to find out what more information because they weren't getting the information fast enough.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like again, I suspect, like I said, it's out there. It's not me. I've heard it and I agree with it. As I think the entity is responsible for crashing the Shawshank bus and releasing Hank, which is going to be how he catapults what he needs to happen, like the extreme, just the aggression of the city building. Because again, you saw, I don't know if you saw the trailer or not, like all the residents are like up in arms because Hank is missing, and and the police, the one racist cop who has I guess his grandsons are racist in 1989 or whatever. But is it Bauer?
Yeah. Or
Yeah, like they're all like with their pitchforks and torches trying to find Hank. And so like it's Pennywise,
yeah, he's getting everything. He's getting the party set up.
right. Yeah, he's in the meantime he's in the water shedding, doing his exfoliation treatment and making everybody drink drink his essence.
Yeah. Which I guess that's goes back to when Charlotte was first at the deli and she ran out to stop those kids from fighting the one kid, and everybody kind of just continued on like it was nothing because I guess they're used to people being overly aggressive and beating up people in the streets, and then
They welcome it, yeah, kind
yeah,
of
they
thing.
welcome it. It's very normal for them. They don't see an issue with it. That's a normal Tuesday for them. They're kind of
And especially as we're getting closer to the climax
yeah.
of this, that he ramps everybody up to the point of almost this feeding frenzy of fear and aggression, and that because he likes his white people seasoned.
No, I mean, that's good. And I mean, we both kind of, I mean, everyone said it when they first got their hangout spot. And I mean, I said it reminded me of the juke joint from
Juke
Sinners
joint.
because it's out in the woods and, that was all a big setup.
Right.
And again, that makes sense that that's where it's leading to. Um,
Because I think it burns down. I can't remember exactly what I mean, because again, this is not a spoiler. This is one of those things that the
this isn't the
information,
nightclub though, right?
yeah, I think it's gonna be his club, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were even talking about like, oh, we could set up a kitchen
Yeah,
here
you're
and a
right. You're
bar
right.
here.
You're right.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, yeah, um, and if that's going to be where they again accuse the townsfolk, or somebody accuses Hank of hiding out at.
And then
Um,
whoever is there is an accomplice to an alleged
right.
child murderer. So then it's,
Yeah, it's just kind of a free for all for
yeah,
Pennywise too, and then everything. Because again, it's got to end. It's the nice thing about this is I am very optimistic that this series wraps up well, because the story has to end.
yeah,
The outside of they've already given us the little nuggets for 1989, and we as viewers already know it ties into the stuff that we've seen in 1989, so we really don't need, especially if we know that Pennywise goes underground for 27 years.
yeah. We don't need
We
a
don't,
cliffhanger because we know what
no, you
the
don't,
next massacre is or whatever.
right. Like we have it. We see the house. We saw the house with the
Yeah,
well. We know we've seen Pennywise. Like we don't need, and look what's coming. We've seen the movie. Like
yeah,
we're going backwards now, people, which is it makes it easier to wrap these up and just
yeah.
put a nice little period on it, because it doesn't have to be a dot dot dot.
Yeah.
So I'm
No,
actually
I think that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. We have the movies, we have everything there, we have the books already. So if anything, it just they can fully close this chapter, and then I guess season two is even earlier.
right
So yeah,
where
knowing that we're most likely, hopefully, headed for a wrapped up storyline is huge because yeah, the second season has should have nothing to do with this season.
exactly right. Like, yeah, you might see this a few of the same names,
Yeah,
just for that, for it to then tie into this season in 1962. But outside of that, we really don't need anything, because, and according to the indigenous people, he is a lot milder now. So, like, where are we going with this?
yeah, insane. But yeah, overall, I think it was one of the better. I mean, I think all the episodes have been good, but because they moved the story forward, this episode was really well done. Again, the kids did a pretty good job with the acting,
Ugh,
the CGI, um, playing on your emotions with them being in the sewers and the shadows and everything. Like it was just a really good episode that you want to know, what is the fallout from this episode? Like you've got Hanlon or Halloran, Hanlon's dead best friend.
right.
You've got
Which he
Hank.
was interrogated for, and I think
He
they're kind
was
of like,
interrogated. They took his statement, but then you got to go back home to your family and have that whole conversation of like,
"What were you doing in the?
what were
What
you
were you doing?"
doing in the sewers? Also, you just watched me kill a man. Now I'm angry
Right.
at Charlotte because where were you at when you should have been watching the kid, which is going to lead into, oh, well, I was chasing down the escaped convict. And he's like, I told you to not make trouble in this town. So, like, you've got all of that. You've got the kids that have to go back to school or whatever, and now don't know what to believe. Plus, Ronnie, your dad's a fugitive now, and I mean, there are so they did such a good job that now the fallout in this next episode, or there are so many different, even and then you even go back with Shaw, and it's like, dude, I know you want to capture this thing, but that little mission should have you box up that sewer and just call it quits. And handling his and the shine and him having that, and then even Rose with her nephew or whatever. Like, what do you mean you lost the shard? Like, there are so many.
Oh,
Like,
right.
there's
Hmm.
so much that I need to know about.
And maybe the indigenous people going to the water company and saying, "Hey, we need better filtration
We need to
systems."
filter this from somewhere else and not here. Yeah.
Like, which is crazy because I'd love to know how they know that.
That was what I said when they were talking to doing their little speech or their little home meetup to discuss it, and he kind of just said that. I'm like, okay.
But which is great because they don't have to answer it because it could be something that they found out in either 1935 or 1908. So it is kind of an ingenious series in the fact that there are things that they can open up and say about Pennywise's lore that doesn't have to be answered this season because they can always be like, well, we might answer it next season or the season after that because we don't have to tell you when we found
Like
out.
they did with the car that they unburied.
That's
Like
a
they
yeah.
dropped that in there, and it's like, oh, well, that we could reference that later.
Well, they are going to reference it because it's the gangster shootout that happens.
Yes.
That's and so it's like that is I think they said Al Bradley's car, which does factor in. I think it's 1908. That might
Hmm.
be the. But I mean, like they show that in the song that everybody loves now.
Yeah.
Big
The
credits.
little lullaby creepy song. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what we've learned is no singing or no dancing of anything in Derry because it all just leads to really bad things.
Yes.
And this is how Footloose happened.
Honestly, that's someone in the town moved away, but
It
unlike
was
everyone else, they did not lose their memories. And they're
yeah,
like, look, if there's one thing I know, it's
no
music and
good.
dancing.
No good comes from
Giant clown is
happy
going to come and
songs.
kill you. Turns
Happy
out Kevin
song.
Bacon is the villain.
He is Pennywise.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, good episode, great
It's got an
episode.
8.9 out of 10 on IMDb. So,
I can't say I faulted it. I think it's really up there.
yeah,
Just out of curiosity, what are they all ranked? What's like 1 through 5 so far?
it is. All right. Episode 2 is, I'm just going to go to the wide open one that tells me everything. So, overall, it's got a 7.7 out of 10, which is
Okay.
interesting. Um, Episodes, there should be a way for me to.
See it.
Okay, episode 1,
Mm-hmm.
8 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Episode 2, that's with the pickle dad scene.
Mm-hmm.
That is 7.7.
Okay.
Episode 3, that was the one with the graveyard and everything, 7.6. So that's the
Okay.
lowest rated one.
Right.
Last week's was 8.2, and then today took a huge jump to 8.9.
I mean, I think it that you've got it outside of the
It's got the least amount of reviews so far. Like, everyone else has 8,000 reviews, 6,000
yeah.
reviews. This one only has 1.7 thousand. So it could
Okay.
go up, could go down. I do agree that episode 3, now you see it, is the
The
weaker of the
weakest. Right.
episodes, the weakest, and that is where it's ranked. Um, but
But yeah, that's
seven and
that
a half being the lowest rated episode is pretty good.
yeah, that's it's pretty impressive. I think they've got them pretty I think they've got it pretty well. Yeah, because like I said, the last episode we got a lot more lore
Yeah.
and we got those some of those things just kind of enough information given to us to just get us through the season. Because again, They don't have to. They can go back and just keep adding to this lore season by season. So I think it's
Yeah,
just a good, and it's not so much that you get drowned under it. It wasn't so much that it was like a ton of exposition, and what was happening during the explanation was crucial to how it led us to this season or to
they've
this
done a
episode.
really
So
good job stretching things out. And I said this last week. They've done a great job of stretching things out, closing off mini storylines here or there, or at least answering enough questions to keep the story going.
yeah,
And for a short series, 8 to 10 episodes, a lot of shows don't do that. A lot of
yeah,
shows that we've reviewed don't do that. They've done a really good job with this one.
yeah. I'm excited because
Me
again, we've
too.
only got three now, and
Yep.
they're ramping up, and you can feel the tension building in this city and everything that's kind of going wrong. So I think they've done a really well job of keeping the kind of, I don't want to say the cast is small because you do have multiple storylines, but ultimately it is kind of a small cast.
It is. It is.
I mean, because you have the Hanlon family, you have Dick Halloran, you have General Shaw. You knew that Paulie was going to die at some point because he's like the fifth man on Star Trek. So it's
Yep.
like
Yep.
he just didn't have any ties to anybody in the city. And then you have your handful of kids, which again, they wiped out the first handful in the first episode. So like really has been kept kind of tight. I mean, like you've got the patty cakes. I think you see a not a great version of the head of the patty cakes in the trailer, but I would have to go back and kind of dissect it little by little. But overall, I thought it was great. You thought it was great.
Yep.
We think the series is pretty great. And yeah, let us know what you. We've had really kind of pretty good viewership on this series. So thanks for watching,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
yeah, give us thumbs up, subscribe, let us know what you like. We hope to be running more posts and polls and everything about this series and questions that we have throughout the week after this post.
Yes.
So yeah, until then, I think we will see you next week in
Yes.
Derry. Bye.
Yes.